Hello everyone, my name is Tanvir and you're watching Shoolini Spotlight. Today we have with us Ekta ma'am or Ekta Singh, who is a ex-faculty member of Shoolini and now PhD scholar at IIT Roorkee. Welcome to the show, ma'am. Our area of discussion is archaeology, right? So when it
Yeah.
comes to me, my interest in archaeology was sparked from a little show called Ancient Aliens. Perhaps you've heard of it. Now,
Yes, I've watched a
Ancient
lot.
Aliens, yes, I have also watched quite a bit of that show. And now some may consider it pseudoscientific. I mean, it is, in fact, there are a lot of human achievements that tries to contort evidence from and relate them to extraterrestrial influence and whatnot. But as a child, it really intrigued me about all the ancient societies that they mentioned. And then apart from that, of course, we have Indiana Jones. I love Indiana Jones. And of course, we also have The Mummy 1999, perhaps something that inspired an entire generation of Egyptologists. So
I'm one
that
of
being
them.
said, right. So that being said, what inspired your interest in the subject? What made you pursue it?
I think I would like to go back to my school times during 11th class. So one of the superintendent archaeologists in Dehradun Circle, he was invited in our college to give a normal lecture on archaeology. So over on that day, I got so fascinated by his talk. I was like, wow, this is such a fascinating thing to do. So I had a brief discussion with him, then with my teacher also, my history teacher at that time. And both of them were like, no, no, you should pursue. Then I also asked how to get into that subject. How, like after pursuing my 12th, how will I get into that subject? So then he also told me at that time, even today also, the process is same that you have to complete your undergraduation in history honors, or if any college is offering you archaeology directly. You can also do that. After that, you can pursue your master's in history, ancient Indian history or medieval Indian history, not the modern one. Both of these streams will help you out. Else, like now, a lot of colleges and universities are also offering directly masters in archaeology. Back then, there were like very limited number of colleges which are offering. After that, you can pursue. There is a post the postgraduate diploma course in archaeology, which you can pursue from Institute of Archaeology. At that time, it was in Red Fort, but currently it's in Greater Noida. So once you complete that, you are kind of trained in archaeology, because in that 2 years course you get a hands-on training and everything, and later you can decide whether you want to pursue a PhD, or you can maybe get a chance to get accepted in ASI itself, Archaeological Survey of India. So I was like, okay, let me give it a try. But during my undergraduation, somehow this dream was like, faded away, and I was more inclined towards administrative services. So I tried preparing for my UPSC exam and everything. But during my post graduation in Delhi University, this because I was studying from those professors who were, kind of experts in the field. They were the people whose books I've read during my undergraduation and during my school. So then that rekindled that dream which I had back in my school. Then I realized, okay, UPSC is not something that I want to. Instead, I want to pursue something in research, something in archaeology. And then again, I get in touch with those professors, and they also, started showing me path, like what areas I can work. And one of the professor, Nainjut Lahiri, like she's a very prominent archaeologist currently. So she suggested me, if you want to pursue archaeology, you must, do somewhere near your hometown, because at that time she has that idea that it will be convenient for you to conduct field work, as you know people over there, you know the language, you know the area, so it's a bit easy. So I started reading, about Dehradun Valley and its, outskirts and all that area. And then it clicked after reading one book on Yamuna Valley that Himalayas. Why not Himalayas? It's that area which is like vast. It's like
Absolutely.
geographically it's so vast.
So when we'll come back to Spiti Valley, I know that's an area of your interest, but you mentioned like do it around your, area, the area that surrounds you. I wonder what archaeology could you really do in Delhi? What would you be digging up? I mean,
Oh, there
perhaps
are a
there
lot
would
of
be
there,
something quite
there-
interesting from earlier times that perhaps since Delhi has been around, but there's so much concrete and there's so much construction. How will you get the permits to actually even excavate anything, right?
uh,
It's quite a
so
bit of a
getting
difficult.
permit getting permission is not that difficult, at least nowadays. But obviously, you need to be associated with some university to conduct a excavation. But even before excavation, you need to have some kind of exploration in that area. And because you're talking about Delhi region in particular, so a lot of concrete, yes, but there are a lot of pockets like the ridge area. Then in JNU itself, there are a lot of jungle area, Over there, in fact, a couple of stone tools were discovered in those
Hmm.
areas. In fact, Nainjot Lahiri was one of the prominent one. Patsarthi was one. I remember, I think Upinder Singh, Professor Upinder Singh, she also was among the one who have discovered those stone tools, which tells us that Delhi was not just a medieval city. Instead, the dates push back to the prehistoric times. So, and in Delhi itself, name was given by I don't know, but whom, but it was basically considered as the gateway to India. Dehliz, the term was Dehliz. Usi say it become Delhi. So, and because of those stone tools and all other material culture, archaeological material culture, we got to know that no, it's not just, and because yes, Aravallis, it's on the edge of Aravali. So that is also one of the significant areas where we can trace the archaeology back to the prehistoric times, basically.
Of course, Delhi has a lot of history, and now we're mentioning that
Yes.
we're going back a long time into archaeology. Now, there tends to be a bit of an overlap, a bit of a confusion between history and archaeology. Now, you and I may have some idea about what exactly the differences are, but for our viewers, could you explain? Because when they say archaeology is based on physical evidence, analyzing physical evidence, and history is based on written records. But we have written records going back a long time. We have hieroglyphs from Egypt, we have the Sumerian languages, we have the Rosetta Stone, and even Ea Nasir's copper complaint tablet, if you remember that. So,
Yes, yes.
where exactly does that distinction begin between archaeology and history?
So basically, we can divide this into three parts. One is your prehistory, where there is no written records at all, where we only have material culture like stones, bones, wood, and all those things. Then we have proto-history, where it is written, but somehow it was not everything is deciphered. Like you have talked about Egyptian, Mesopotamia, all these things. We do have written records, but it took a lot of time to decipher all those things. And in Indus Valley is such a debatable thing right now. There's so many people are claiming, archaeologists are claiming, linguistics people are claiming that they have deciphered, but they are unable to convince people. So it is still in that zone where we don't know exactly. We are predicting everything on the basis of archaeological evidences, material culture. And in fact, there is also another term called ethnoarchaeology, where we are relating the archaeological material on the basis of current usage in the tribes and in the rural areas, and we cross connecting them and try to predict and interpret them. So, so we have prehistory, we have proto-history, and then we have history where we have well deciphered historical records where we can read, understand, and interpret. So these are the three main divisions of where we can put these things. And if we talk about prehistory itself, so we have like 4 to 5 phases in it. Like you have Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, where from stone tool hunting gatherers to we started doing agriculture and everything, and then we have Bronze Age, where somehow it is overlapping with your proto history. Chalcolithic ages, where you can see culture civilization are being coming up and that kind of thing. So that's how you kind of situate or locate things in this historical timeline.
So when it comes to evidence, obviously, since we are discussing a lot of physical evidence in archaeology, we're basing our analysis on that physical evidence, right? So how there must be something. When you went on your first expedition, there must have been an artifact that you would have found. Perhaps your first artifact, or even the most significant artifact or favorite artifact that you found. Now, what's the story behind that artifact? What's the significance, if you could talk about the journey of how you got there, how you found it, and how you felt after finding it?
Um, like during my first expedition, because it was a Harappan site, it was already excavated, and so it was just an exposure for a postgraduate student. So over there, so I couldn't remember anything in particular. But yeah, when I started my PhD journey, and my first experience was exposure of rock art in the area in the Spiti Valley. So I just received a call that a team from IGNCA Delhi, they are going to Spiti Valley to document the petroglyphs. And at that moment, I don't even know exactly what petroglyphs look like. I just have read them, haven't seen them. So I was like, okay, I'll join the team. I'll see what I can contribute, what I can learn from them. So and at that moment, there was this Spiti Valley with so many boulders carved, engraved with those motifs, like there are zoomorphs, anthropomorphs, like human figures, animal figures, then celestial, like sun, moon, all these things. And I got so fascinated, like every stone is telling its own story. And one thing, like one thing in particular, which I am also currently working is there are a lot of handprints, not in the painting style, but in a petroglyph. They are carved, and I put a hand on one of the petroglyph, and it was like exactly of my size. And I was like, oh, what was me at some point of time? And and it was like, oh God. So these kind of experiences were there where you yourself, you can relate yourself with those findings. So that was one of them.
And now that you mentioned that expedition, do you have any expeditions planned in the future or any ones that you have recently been on?
Yes, yes. So currently, like during my PhD time, I have worked on Spiti Valley, but during like this tenure in my postdoc, I am focusing more on the Upper Ganga Basin, so Alaknanda River Valley. So we are currently working on human nature interaction, human environment interaction in particular. So we are looking on the paleoclimatic data and in association with the human or archaeological remains that we can get. So recently, I visited to a paleo lake site in higher Himalayas near Gopeshwar. So we have like there were geologists in the team, so they have dug a pit, a proper trench inside, like beside the paleo lake, and like from that also they have recovered some potsherds. That is like very significant for us because we can see that there are a lot of potsherds are being spread across the agricultural fields on the surface itself, but it is very interesting to find them inside the lake sediments also. So it will, because when you find something on surface, it is very difficult to date it because there are a lot of limitations, a lot of contamination and everything. But if it's inside the trench, so it is relatively easier for us to date it. So, in fact, today itself, I was having a discussion with the professor that it looks like the dates are coming soon and they are looking very promising. So I think, and that will push the dates of the area, the antiquities, a little, maybe 2 to 3,000 years ago from today. So, so yeah, we have started with this, but now we'll see. Like in future, the area will be same, but we'll try to locate it to different valleys and see what other material we are getting from the area.
Okay, now let's come back to the Spiti Valley, obviously the area where you started and where you have the most experience. Now, how far back does the history of Spiti Valley actually go, according to the records that we have or the evidence that we have? And what was the pre-Buddhist culture of Spiti Valley like?
So when I started my PhD, the major question was what was there before Buddhism arrived in that area? Because we have Tabo monastery back in the 10th century, but we don't know anything prior to that. The only evidence is we have some written record from the 7th century that yes, once it was a part of Tibetan Empire, Zhangzung Empire, like the whole of this Kinnor and Spiti was part of that. But again, very limited history. And what was there before that? Because if we talk about Zhangzung Empire, like before Buddhism, there was a culture called Bon. Bon is animistic or shamanistic religion. And interestingly, we do have one functional monastery near Shoolini itself, in Dolanji. It's one of the, uh, I think in world also, it's one of the most prominent Bon monastery.